You got the special ready to pull up? All right, we're back up on YouTube. Get my charger over there. All right. It's plugged into the power strip by the computer. Yeah. All right, we got one YouTuber back. Hold on just a second. All right. We got 4 YouTubers. All right, is that better, YouTube? Maybe we're in a stream that doesn't have as many rapids and rocks in it here. Check in as you get. Let me do this. Our speed test is working well as far as our internet goes. Brother Kyle getting. All right, and so I don't know what the hang up is. Maybe it's just overloaded. I don't know. How many we got on there?
16 minutes.
Okay.
From the first time.
Right. Okay. Are you talking to Mom? And if you're on and you can text, let's just take a couple seconds here to see if we can get it stabilized. Everything's working fine as far as I can see. All right, Facebook. Hopefully everything's working well there. Let's go ahead and just do the special. Okay. And so I'm gonna sing a special. On here, guys. Hold on just a second. Did you download it?
Yeah.
YouTube this morning, it seems to be rather. And I tell you what, we're just going to do the message now. Okay. Apologize, everyone. I know what happened. Technology's not cooperating this morning. Come back and defeat his opponent, or whether it's the football team that goes down big early in the game only to come roaring back in the fourth quarter. Even in our nation today, we think of, and I've had this on my heart, there's all the talk of the comeback, all right, the economy coming back, and our works, job and employment coming back, and the depths of the dungeon, and then Samson, the comeback, where he comes back and over again, he came back from sin to serve the Lord, back to sin. Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 11 tonight on Resurrection Sunday. And it's about a life that's been resurrected. And it wasn't even Samuel's life. It was Hannah's life. Matthew 27 and verse number 33. Matthew 27 and verse number 33 says, and when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. Sitting down, they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation written, This is Jesus, King of the Jews. Then were there 2 thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by, likewise also the chief priests mocking him, with the scribes and elders said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. There was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were many bodies of the saints which slept arose. And came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now when that centurion and they which were with him watching Jesus saw the earthquake and those things that were done, and they feared greatly, saying, This is Christ. This was rock bottom. This was rock bottom. And in our story, we have all the elements. We have all the elements. We have the good guys. We have Jesus and his followers. People, for 3.5 years, he had done nothing except preach about the wonderful gospel and tell about eternity, preached on heaven and hell. For 3 years, he had done nothing. 3.5 years, nothing but give people the truth. He was not only a good guy, he was the best guy. He was the only perfect guy. He was the only perfect man who ever walked this earth. 100% God, 100% man, 100% perfect. Then we have the bad guys. Of course, we know them, the Pharisees. They're their religious thumb, and they did. They ruled. We can see it happening in our world, ruling by fear and controlling people by fear. They would threaten people with fear and castigation and ostracize people if they did not surrender themselves to the Lord, or if they didn't surrender themselves to their way and surrender themselves to their laws. Okay, and so they had twisted and they had perverted the laws of God that had been handed down over years from generation to generation. They had added on all these new laws, all kinds of crazy stuff. Jesus was a great threat to their corrupt schemes and therefore their corrupt money. They made lots of money off the people. They swindled the people. They hustled the people, if you will. They took advantage of them and they made money off the people. And Jesus was a threat to that. Jesus never shielded them from the truth when they confronted him. He called them out for what they were. But when one of them was willing to try to learn what Jesus was all about, if you remember the story of Nicodemus, he didn't skip out on the opportunity to be a blessing to him. Think of Nicodemus in John chapter 3, where he comes to Jesus by night and says, "I'm a priest," and the ignorant mob that they had incited that brought us to the point where we are in our passage today. How much did they hate Jesus? These are the bad guys in our story. We've got the good guys. We've got the bad guys. Well, first of all, they lied about Jesus. Mark 14 says, many bear false witness against him. They lied about him. They were willing to lie, even though they knew it was a lie, in order to keep their money-making scheme in place. Judas, he throws the 30 pieces of silver at them and says, "Hey, I'm not willing to do this anymore, and I trade innocent blood." They said, "Hey, that's none of our business." They just wanted to cover it up. They demanded punishment. They cried out, "Away with him, crucify him, crucify him." In John chapter 19. They used governmental authority. They hated him so much. They in chapter 27, verse 64, it talks about how they tried to hide his body, make sure in case let's get a guard out there. Let's get some soldiers out there to guard the body in case his disciples try to take him. They said they just say his disciples took him. Let's cover it up. Let's conceal the truth. Of course, these bad guys had a leader. You could almost hear the sound of the devil's evil laughter in the air, couldn't you? You could almost hear it. You could almost hear the wicked. Now the darkest moment in apparent defeat. It's been several days of hopelessness and despair. The followers of Jesus had watched, and they were just scared to death. He had been unjustly tried. He'd been found everybody into a frenzy by the religious leaders. They had stood helplessly by and watched him as he was scourged. He was beaten. A cruel crown of thorns jammed into his scalp. Just horrible pain, horrible torture. And then watched him slowly die over the course of a few hours. Yes, that Nicodemus, taking his body down, carefully wrapping it. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and he laid it in his own new tomb, which had been hewn out of the rock, and he rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and departed. So him, and another account, I believe it's Luke, talks about Nicodemus being there as part of it. Hold on, Facebook. I'm just gonna hit refresh here on